Right, well, another week has gone by, and it's time for another episode of Cracked. So, I got something special for you guys today. We'll see what we can pull out of here, what Nipper's got for us. Have the new baby-proof shield up. And, alright, Nipper, you been keeping it safe in the bag? Yes, I have. Okay, cool. Let's pull this out then. Alright, now what we've got today is something that was given to me by my music store friend, again, on the occasion where I got the idea to do this video series, which was actually quite a while ago. And so what's in here are 4 pieces. And if you've seen the, I think that's all of it. Yep. Some album pieces back there for strength. And now, so if you look, let's see what we got here. I've actually got 2 records, and they're both kind of special because these are what we call Red Seal Victor records. Now the original, these are also known as like the original collector records. So back in the teens and aughts and whatnot, Victor Talking Machine Company had a special series of mostly operatic but also classical performances that were special editions. They called these their Red Seal labels. Most of the Victor records at the time had a black label. You'll notice that the labels on both of these are red, and they were kind of special. Both of these, most recent date on them is 1908. They are single-sided recordings, so if you look at the back side, there's absolutely nothing for both of these. And they were, kind of the equivalent of the special edition, heavy grain release that we see today, because as these were listed, let me see if we could piece this one together. Unfortunately, the label on this one got damaged a little bit as it was cracked, but somewhere on there it says that this is a $2, oh yeah, right on the label right here. So it says that this is a $2 record. And if we assume this was made in 1910 or so, I looked up with an inflation calculator, $2 back in 1910 was the equivalent of like $55 today. So, that quadraphonic, 280 grain vinyl Led Zeppelin album that you might see on the stores going for 30, 40, 50 bucks. This is the equivalent of that in 1910, and it's a single side and it's classical music. Because back then, well, the only people that could really afford that was generally wealthier people or people that had a connoisseur's taste in music. And I don't know, these were special pressings. And yeah, even before World War II, these were collectible. They had quite a following, and I guess today there are different levels of Red Seal label of value. Some of them are worth $5-10 if they're later issues or double-sided. Some of them are double-sided, or if they're more common. This one's a Fritz Kreisler over here. He was a very prolific performer, but some of them are worth significantly more than that. So some of them go for the $5 range, some of them are in the more of the $10-20 range, some of them are in kind of the $50-75 range, and some of them are worth $100 or hundreds of dollars, depending on their rarity and collectability. Now, from what I've seen, Victor Red Seals actually haven't been all that popular in recent times. I don't know anybody myself that collects them, and I think part of the reason for that is I've never actually seen a guidebook on them. So it's kind of a collector's genre that's died out over time. But maybe Scott and I can get together at some point and put together a book, and we can see about maybe reviving that. He used to sell a lot of these in the early 90s. They kind of kept his business going overseas. He would ship them out. But anyway, we're going to try to repair these today and get them playing back to listable condition. The grooves on these are actually both very clean. This one's got a little bit of wear near the edges here. I'm a little concerned about that, but this one's nice and clean, even though it's got a secondary crack. So yeah, kind of the standard paper towel and super glue, and we're going to see what we can do to get these cracks as tight as possible so you can't hear them as you listen to the record. One advantage we are going to have this time is the fact that there is only music on one side. So I'm going to try to get the glue more towards the bottom of the record so none of it seeps out the top, and hopefully that'll help us with maintaining the music quality there. Alright, so I got my paper towels and I got my records, and we got the super glue. Let's make sure that is flowing before we need to use it. Alright, yep, it's bubbling up, so that's good. And I'm actually going to start out with a little bit of sacrilege, because I've decided, well, I don't know, it's a single-sided record. Maybe I can glue it from the back. Yeah, let's start with that. We'll splay the label out a little bit so it's on the top. Then I'm actually going to start by gluing the back of this crack, and I'm going to push the crack side down, and if it breaks off, I'm not too broken up about it, because we'll just glue it back together. But what I'm going to do before this flakes, and this is going to stick to the paper towel a bit. Well, that's okay. Scrape it off. Just going to get a bit of glue on the edge there. And I missed the groove. So we'll spread it with this toothpick. Alright, so now the surface is all gluey. Set it back down and make sure that is well, actually let's just hold it for a few seconds here. Ooh, and we still have some glue seeping through. That's not good. Alright. I'll hold it for about a minute. I really want to get these cracks pressed tight, because the last couple haven't really been satisfied with the sound quality afterwards. And we'll go ahead and play these ones as part of this video, because I don't see, well, this one doesn't really matter anyway. Alright, so that's in there. It's still loose. Well, let's get it all glued together at once. A little bit all over the surface here. The super glue is pretty super stuff. Make the most of the label hole, because that area doesn't matter as much if some seeps out. There's the matrix number. And a dab, and a dab, and a dab, and a dab at the end. Alright, close that for now. And lift the label up. finger sticking to the toothpick a little bit there. But it's all good. Alright, and that is not even. I'm holding this together as tight as I can. And I really want this one to be a nice tight repair. And we'll glue the label back together too, I think. Alright, well, I'm gonna get some tape. I'm tired of holding this thing. Alright. Now this one just doesn't want to stay. So I'm going to put a little tape over the edge so it stays. So maybe it stays. Oh, it's a massive gap. Clamp is still floppy. Any of the gaps, that's the biggest one right there, the crack. Should have just broken the piece off. It would have repaired better. Oh well. Man, those screws are so shiny. Alright, well, we're going to try number 2 now. Don't really know how we could do that any better. But live and learn, right? Ooh, massive glue bubble. Right. And this crack is nice and jagged. Lots of little parts that seems to be a little better, but it's still got a bit of bow to it. And there's that dig in there. It's almost like the record was flaking apart from this right here, and it cracked. So it's 66023. This one is 87051. I don't want to be able to feel that groove. I don't want to be able to. I don't want it to move either. Yeah, it's got a really nasty dig in it near the end. So we're going to have to fill that in. I don't really like needle digs. There's a little bit of one there too. Spread that in the area. Let's glue this label back down while we're at it. Yeah, it's a lot of super glue. Alright, well, let those dry and maybe scrape out the grooves a little bit and see how they go. Well, it's been a couple of hours, and in that time I actually decided to bring out the glass plates, which I have cleaned, and press this one between them, try to get it to lay a little flatter. I don't know how successful that was, but hey, part of this is experimentation. We're going to go ahead and play a Red Seal Grand Prize record first. This is Riccardo Martin with Als die alte Mutter. So, Songs My Mother Taught Me by Dvorak, the tenor. I think that's in German there, the title. So, yeah, let's see how it sounds. I'm thinking there are going to be some clicks, but the groove itself should be pretty good. And let's hear something that should date from 1910 or so. Oh boy. Well, that's a real shame. That was a nice record at one point, and don't think the yeah, crack's not very quiet there, but it does play through. But that is a very loud set of ticks, and if we look at the groove, there's a lot of debris, dust. So I don't know if I'll call that one a success. It's definitely not as good as I wanted it to be. That was a nice record at one point. Sweet. I know it's not everybody's taste, but you know, you gotta appreciate the artistry of some of this stuff that was. I mean, if that's 1910, which is an estimate, I don't know if that's actually 1910 or if it's 1914 or 1912 or what. But you know, if it's 1910, you know, that's a 110-year-old record there. That somebody back then paid the equivalent of like $50 for, and it was meant to be something special. So, all right, well, let's pull the tape off of this one. This is Fritz Kreisler, so it should be, yeah, it says violin solo with orchestra. Get all this tape on my fingers now. Let's see if we can get it up. And I don't know if this would yield a little bit better or not. But again, it's a Victor Batwing, red seal, single-sided. Feels kind of okay. Probably at least 100 years old. And we're going to play it with a little extra pressure. That's why you might see me. I got my spare needle I put on top of here. This one's newer, but for some reason it's not quite the right shape, so it doesn't track as well. But it makes a nice little weight. You want to put a little extra weight on the head of your phonograph there. So, all right, let's see how this one sounds. That clicking pattern almost could have been the beginning to the Lollipop song by the Chordettes. Oh well. Well, it's back in one piece, and I'd almost say that because the record was in such good shape, the groove is more noticeable than if it had been a really beat up record. But that's the thing about these red seals, people took care of them generally, and yeah, nice music. Oh well. Well, maybe not the best result or the result that we were hoping for today, but anyway, I got 2 century-old Victor red seals, some interesting classical music, or some I don't know, lounge music. You imagine Grandma or Grandpa or great-grandpa at this point, you know, sitting in the parlor, you know, putting the latest tunes on, have that floating out the window late at night. That was what wealthier people did if they didn't have their own band coming into play. They'd play their Victrola records. So, alright, well, hopefully that's been educational for some of you and interesting for some others. I got to work on my technique a little better because I'm tired of having these things with clicks when we're done. But I guess that's part of the game, you know. You work on stuff that and build technique over time. This is the first time I used the glass plates to try to compress a disc, and it had marginal results. I don't think I applied them quite soon enough. Still got to figure out my gluing technique a little better. But anyway, it is what it is, and you know, if nothing else, these things have been played again and can be played still, just not 100% anymore. Oh well. Anyway, this is Abe, and this has been Cracked, and thank you for watching, and hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.